Good afternoon, everyone. Today's date is the 14th of July and the time is 4:15 here in the UK. So today and this week even is going to be our last little piece of the eclipse season. So the full moon in Capricorn happens this week on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on where you are, and happens in the sign of Capricorn. And this week, more than any other week so far, you can see the lineup in these two signs, and the seesaw occurring across the chart of everyone this week. The only things not being involved are Jupiter and Neptune. They're outside of the realm of these two big bits of seesaw that are going on, and also if you want to include Chiron as well, which I generally tend to do, and he's actually doing some interesting things at the moment, which actually form a part of this piece because of the fact that it's in Aries and it's square to a lot of this stuff, and also the fact that he has just gone retrograde, and will be retrograde until December. So there's a lot of retrograde action going on at the moment as well. So first of all, so the eclipse and what is going to be happening this week. So you've got to think of it as being the me in here versus you out there part, their business. So me in here is the Cancer piece. So me in here is me, my family, my history, my heritage, my roots, my ancestry, people who I call my family, my tribe, versus everything that goes on outside of that. So society as a whole could be part of that. It could also be where you conduct your business, so your outside world of work, and public persona, if you like. It is also societal values. It is to do with authority and control and mores and customs, and things we are supposed to do and be. So if you think about these things being in opposition, there's a lot of incongruence between the two things as it stands at the moment. So between me me in here and versus you out there, kind of thing. So how that could end up feeling is disapproving. So disapproving of how you in here are. So you could feel that things are, people are not accepting as accepting of what you are and who you are as you would like them to be. So Saturn has this critical side to it, which say can come in the form of disapproving, and just that kind of screws its nose up a little bit. That kind of snobbery can also feel apparent as well. So, you know, it's like if you go to a very posh affair and, you know, you're there in your cheap dress in comparison to everybody else designer ones, and people kind of looking down the noses a bit at you because you're not as worthy of being there as they are because of the way that you look. And that can be the feel of this energy. It's kind of like you're not quite worthy enough to be acceptable to society's norms, and it's like, well, who should change here? Is it me or is it them? And I think a lot of the time with Saturn and societal pressure, it feels like it's me in here that should change, and actually that might not be true. You could be starting a revolution for yourself here, to try and change that, and to change the way that you and your tribe and your people are viewed and accepted. And it could be, say, that their opinions are old-fashioned and out of date, and those things that have always been that way no longer need to be that way. So look at those areas of your life where you maybe feel that you don't quite fit in and that people maybe are a little disapproving of you, and look at the why that could be and what you could do to change that. And it could be a little bit more of sticking up for yourself in this. And this is where I'd like to bring in Chiron in Aries into this little bit of a mix, because I mean, people know Chiron as the wounded healer, but often forget that he's a warrior as well. And obviously Chiron represents that wound that we feel, but it where we are wounded can also be our greatest power. And I was thinking about this in relation to superheroes, Marvel superheroes. So when, for example, you look at something like Peter Parker was bitten by the spider, so that was his wound, and then that gave him the power to be able to swing about and do all the fantastic things with webs. But it also meant that part of him could no longer be a teenage boy, a regular teenage boy. And me and my son went off the other week to watch Spider-Man Far Away from Home, and this is very apparent in that story. I mean, it's also the story of a teenager in general coming into their powers and becoming an adult, but it's also got this added responsibility of having superpowers and having a responsibility to the universe at large. And this is what made me sort of link into this idea with Chiron. I mean, you can particularly see that with someone like Bruce Banner, who becomes the Hulk, because when he, you know, with his wound with the gamma rays, it's like, you know, Hulk smashes and destroys when he gets kicked off. So that wound of his can actually lead to a lot of destruction, which can be easily turned for bad rather than for good. So we can do amazing things with where we have our wounds. So think about the sign, particularly think about the house that it's in and the aspects that it makes, because obviously Chiron sticks around for 2 or 3 years in one sign. So a lot of people who are born at the same time as you will have it in the same sign as you. But if you look at the aspects in the house, that will give you more of a unique flavour of how Chiron works for you. So we can often neglect Chiron because it hurts. You know, it's the kind of bit about us that's a bit vulnerable if we haven't learned to use it correctly. And I think with it being going backwards now, it's a time to reflect on because it's in Aries at the moment in particular, is where you need to stand up for yourself. And this is where it fits in with the Cancer Capricorn bit about deciding where the balance is between me in there and you out there, and maybe having to fight for your place and fight for your recognition of your uniqueness, and to, you know, find where your power is. I mean, there's the bit in the Serenity Prayer which says, give me the power to change the things I can. And that's what Chiron is. It's the power to change the things that you can. That's your superpower coming into action. So, you know, as I said before about seesaws, you know, the problem with oppositions is that you can swing back and forth with them, but also there's the tendency to avoid doing anything by standing in the middle of it and not really getting anywhere. And Chiron's on the fulcrum, if you like, of that, going, you're going to have to blooming do something with this. And I'm in Aries now, and you're going to have to fight, and you're going to have to stick up for yourself, because if you don't, you're going to feel that wound even more, and even more sharply than you've ever felt before. So, like I say, look to where look to where the house is, look to where the signs, look at the aspects that Chiron makes for you, and particularly look at where Chiron in Aries is in the transit, whereabouts that's falling for you as well, because obviously that will fit into the Cancer Capricorn bit, so you can be looking at that in relation to it. So, for example, if Cancer Capricorn is falling 410 for you, then the Chiron bit will fall either 4-7, 1-7, depending on which way around that Cancer Capricorn is for you. So I mean 410 in particular, because those are the houses of Cancer and Capricorn. So that's me at home. This is me and my roots, my family, my tradition, versus me out there in the real world, house 10. And then if you think about the 1/7 bit of it, the Chiron, where Chiron's sitting either on whichever side it's sitting on, is about that. Well, me as a person versus my partner. So it's like how your personal relationships then fit into that 4/7, and how they're being affected by those things, because you know, often when you talk looking at 4/7 stuff, there's more than one person involved in this, but they might not necessarily be the people who are the closest to you, like your partner. So they are going to have an opinion on this, regardless of whether they're actually directly involved in any of it. So whatever you do in relation to that 410 axis is going to have effect on your relationships if you've got that 4/7/17 4/10/17 thing going on for you. So back to Cancer Capricorn. So me in there, like me in here versus you out there, kind of a thing. And it's often about being frightened. Saturn can make us feel quite frightened and brings a lot of fear into the mix about situations, and say it can be incredibly critical. So look at where you're frightened. Look, what are you actually frightened of? Where have you been afraid to take charge of things, and to stop avoiding and just dismissing certain parts of your life? You can also think of it as well about with the Saturn side of things. What have you sacrificed in order to be able to get on in the world? Which bits of you, which bits of your relationships have you given up, or bits of yourself that you have given up in order to keep that Saturn side of things happy, that societal bit of you, to fit in, to do well, get the money, do whatever it takes. So now could be the time to again sort of look at where I can redress the balance with this. So if, for example, you've been spending all hours God sent on your working life, and you have been neglecting your children, you've been neglecting your home, you've been neglecting your friends, now might be the time to sort of pull back on that and look to ways, well, where can I make the time to fit in? Because don't forget, Saturn's about time, and Saturn's about time management as well. So if you haven't been able to fit in your sessions at the gym, well, how can I do that? How can I organise my diary to allow myself to do that? If I've not been able to do the things that I love, like if you enjoy painting, or if you enjoy going out into the countryside, if you enjoy camping or swimming or doing whatever it is, well, where can I find the time? Where can I make time to be able to keep that part of me happy? And also, I need to start putting value onto those things that maybe aren't necessarily things that might bring in money or have prestige attached to them, but are just bits of me that I just enjoy, and that are there to make me happy. So if it's if you can feel your paints in the attic calling you, get them down, and give yourself some time to be able to explore those things again. When was the last time that you went out and just went a little mad? Call up the babysitter, get somebody to come in and look after the kids, and you and your friends and your partner just go out and just have, go a little bit mad and just enjoy yourself. Life's there to be enjoyed. You don't always have to be the parent, the responsible one, the breadwinner, whatever it is. It's like, take your foot off the gas and just go out and enjoy yourself, because those are the things that are needed to kind of redress that balance. So look to those things that you've neglected within your life, and that maybe you can start doing a little bit more of again. Also, think about where that warrior bit of you that wants you to be, and where you can start using your superpower. So those things might be connected up as well. So, you might actually find that if you spend more time doing one of those things you love, it might turn into something more. And that actually, these things weren't a waste of time after all, that you could actually earn a good living out of them, or maybe change your life so that you don't need as much of that kind of, if all your life you've just been running to stand still and there's been nothing going on, is it really worth that extra £5 a year or whatever it happens to be? Why can't you just cut back and just go, no, actually I want a more balanced life. I just want to be able to have time to spend with my family. I'm not working every evening until 10, 11 o'clock at night. I want to, sit down and read with my kids, or I want to be able to go to the school play rather than, be sat at work. And it's like, well, your boss might be a bit cheesed off that you decided to take an hour off, but you only get those opportunities once. And, you think about how much pleasure it will bring to you and your children that you have been able to be there. And like I say, if your boss won't allow you to do that, maybe look at changing your job. So it's about what makes you happy. And I think later in the week, when Venus opposes Saturn as well, that will very much ring true, because it's hard that those couple of days it might be hard to find that pleasure. And it's like, well, why are you not feeling it? Why are you not able to feel content within yourself? What is it you are missing from your life that could make it so much happier and so much more worthwhile, And so if you're feeling down and despondent after that emotional full moon, and in those days following when Venus opposes Saturn, well, it's like, what do I need? And sometimes the tendency is to go for the Saturnian consumerism bit. Oh, I'll go and cheer myself up by buying myself a new dress or a new pair of shoes. But those kind of things are temporary, and also it harks too much at the Saturn side of things. It's like, well, actually, what would be better for me? What would make my soul sing? What would make me really happy? And it could be just getting yourself some nice bubbles in a bath, or it could be having a dance around the living room, or lighting a candle and saying some prayers to the universe and asking them to give you guidance on, well, what can I do to make my life better and more content? So lot of reflection this week, I would say. There's going to, the tendency for emotions to be high will definitely be there. And particularly if you have people in your life with that strong emphasis, again, the Cancer Capricorn, or also on the other cardinals, Aries and Libra, there could be that potential flare up with those people. But also look to the authority figures in your life. If you are still, as an adult, listening too much to your parents and what they say, or, like, well, what would the neighbours say kind of thing, and you're like, sod it, don't care, actually, because I'm not doing any harm to anybody, I'm just being myself. So it might be, there might be raised voices on that account. There might be certain things there, and it might be that you might decide, finally, actually, I'm not listening to this anymore. I've had enough. And I have my own people and my own family now that are there for me and want me to be there and are kind to me. Why should I still be listening to those people that I didn't ask to be born into that particular family? And much as I love them and I respect them in a good Saturnian way, you don't have to listen to that any longer. So you can turn down the noise should you choose, and start fighting for your right to be who you are. So take it easy out there this week. This is the last week for 6 months until it all kicks off again in the holiday season in December, which is always a very volatile time anyway for a lot of families as you're all closed in and it's the winter time. Um, the Christmas season can be a time of a lot of family arguments, and say this is when these energies are coming back at you once more. So those ideas of family and home and tradition and how you spend your holidays and who with and what you put up with and all that, that will all be kicking off again then. But in the meantime, next week sees a lot more light at the end of the tunnel. So we've got some lovely fresh energy with the sun moving into Leo. And even though we're still going to have that Mercury retrograde bugging us away in the background for a little bit, this week sees the sort of last hurrah of this particular bit, and then we're out the other side, and free of that Cancer Capricorn energy, at least for a few months. So careful how you go, write things down, think long and hard, a lot of reflection. Don't be afraid, don't give in to the fear part, don't give in to the disapproving part of yourself or anything external. Fight for you, be the warrior, and remember it's about what you value and the things that you love that are most important in your life, and those are the things that you should be taking special care of and taking pleasure in and giving the time to. As they say, when you die, somebody will fill your shoes at work, but to your family, you'll be lost forever. So which is more important? So think about that this week as you tackle those particular areas of your life, and enjoy. Okay, take care. See you soon. Bye.